What was your "man, I'm old" moment? I was playing basketball in a neighborhood I just moved into. The age range on the court was probably 14 to 30, me being the 30. There was a super overconfident kid that was legit really good. His team took a big lead. Then I hit like 3 long-distance shots in a row. After the third, he took the ball down the court. Went up for a layup. And I swatted his shish out of the court. A girl on the sideline said, "Man, somebody's dad came out here to show y'all how to play ball." I was crushed. I ate a cupcake and thought, this is too sweet. If this is the barometer for determining feeling old, I think I'm in the clear. We always ask patients their name and date of birth. One day I'm called in to do a labor epidural and she gives her date of birth and it's the year I graduated high school. Sucker punch. It works the other way too. First time I went to see my GP and he was younger than me was a horrible moment. I recently had one of those moments where I realize that I am getting older. And my priorities are changing. Thanks to a line in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. In Chapter 5, Harry had just gotten to the Weasleys' house and they are going up the stairs and meeting with all of the Weasleys on the way. Percy, who is portrayed as a rule-abiding, pretentious git, begins talking to them about a report that he is working on that will hopefully standardize cauldron thickness. He works for the government. So this makes some sense. He then explains that leakages have been increasing at a rate of almost 3% a year. That'll change the world. That report will, said Ron. Front page of the Daily Prophet. I expect. Cauldron leaks. This is played for laughs. But then I realize that Percy has a point. A 3% yearly increase in cauldron leaks would be important. Especially considering that the only time that the government would be able to note cauldron leaks would be when some bad accident got a wizard hospitalized at St. Mungo's. If shoddy cauldron imports are creating a danger to the populace, then it would be reasonable for the government to at least investigate if there was something that it could do. All of these thoughts went through my head as I was reading about how much Harry loves the burrow. And can't wait to learn more magic. And I realized that I relate more to the law-abiding, pretentious git than the exciting main character of the story. And I feel sad that yet another nail was put into the coffin of my childhood. As a government employee, I feel this in my soul. I teach elementary school. I have my first student that is a son of a former student of mine. I also work with a teacher that married a former student of mine. Both are in their 30s. Old retired flight instructor here. There is at least one airline pilot flying today. Who was taught to fly by an airline pilot who I taught to fly. I actually have grand students in the sky. Sigh. Grand students has cracked me up for some reason, ahaha. When a kid asked me about 9/11 and I realized it's just history to them. The same way the Vietnam War is to me. I was just talking to someone at work about that. For my kids 9/11 is just something they learn about in school. My little sister's class was the first high school class where 9/11 was something before they all were born. That was years ago. She's going to be in college soon and now I think it's just history to every high schooler. When you look forward to things like doing nothing, going to bed and getting up at a reasonable hour, home improvements, leaving parties. Yes. I go to parties solely for the high I experience when I finally leave and get home. When I rewatched Gilmore Girls and realized I thought the dad characters were hot and the hot boys were children. Same thing happened when I was watching The Parent Trap a few months ago. I used to have a huge crush on Lindsay Lohan. Now I just watch and think about the big DILF energy Dennis Quaid had. Big bi energy. Remembering that 10 years ago does not mean 2003. No. It obviously means the late 90s or oh god. 20 years ago isn't 1980s. I was watering the lawn last night after reseeding it. I was thinking how nice it would be to yell, "Get off my lawn," once it's back to its lush thick green self again. You reseeded and watered your lawn. You honestly could have stopped right there. This lawn maintenance is a level of adult enjoyment that youth will never understand. I threw a barbecue. All of my friends showed up with at least one case of beer. Ya know. Because it's polite to bring something to parties when you're an adult. Everyone left before 8 p.m. I checked the cooler. Full of beer. But I was completely out of flavored seltzers. We're effing old. Getting tipsy, drunk just is not that fun anymore. And then you have to worry about all the beer calories. And it is just like, why bother? It's not even about the calories or anything. I just don't want to give half my day to last night. I was at a barbecue get-together with mixed ages. I walked into the living room to find two 18-20-of-a-year-old women talking together about the handsome older man on the patio, where my husband was seated. One of the women said, "Oh, you know how I love SY old guys." I smiled thinking they were talking about my husband. As their conversation continued, they peeked out the blinds, waved at the older man, and giggled. OMG. It was my son. My son was the older man. Lol. That is funny. He was the older man to them. Husband doesn't even register. Oh. Who's that? Just some bag of bones that happens to be flipping burgers. My favorite album I bought in 1982 is 37 years ago. I feel old knowing that playing it for kids today would be like an adult in 1982 playing me an album from 1945. Dad. What the hell is Tu Rai I? Son. What the hell is Yeet? When songs I grew up listening to are now considered classic. The first time I ever felt old was when my dad and I were driving back to my parents' house and listening to classic rock radio. Nirvana's "Smells Like Teen Spirit" came on. And then a couple songs later was "Basket Case" by Green Day. This was the first time I'd ever heard songs from my childhood played on a classic rock station. This was around the 4th of July. 2007. I've been old for an entire Chinese zodiac cycle now. Man. Try hitting me up when the classic radio station plays hits from when you started college. Or when the supermarket starts playing all the pop tunes you liked in high school. That's when you realize, you've become their target middle-aged suburban demographic. This same thing happened to me. I was like, oh wow. I didn't know this place was so cool. Oh. I see. I met a 20-year-old who had never addressed an envelope. He said he had never needed to. 20 years old. I still feel ancient. I'm 26 and have never required addressing an envelope. All my banking, bills, and etc. are done online. For my wedding I only sent out invitations to the older family members who would have been shy if they hadn't gotten a paper invite and thank you letter. I stopped shaving for a few days with the intent of growing a beard, and I noticed pretty quickly that half of my facial hair is now gray. Your black ink cartridge is running low. You need to refill it. Of course. If it's a HP. There is probably still half a cartridge inside. Wait till you start finding gray hairs in your downstairs malarkey. Playing with my boyfriend's young children. They have infinite energy, so I just lay in the grass and pretend to die so they take pity. Oh no. Death has caught me once again. Still in college. Instead of using field guides to ID species, our teacher tells us to use iNaturalist. I overestimate my ability to use this app. And am useless. My classmates ignore me and refuse to offer help. I finally managed to figure out why it's not working for me by the end of the 2-hour class, was completely overlooking the button I was supposed to press. I'm 30. I'm 28 and in college for the first time. Our online campus site is a confusing mess to me, and I can never find what the hell I'm looking for, but no one else seems to have any issues. I'm majoring in an IT field. College sites are some of the worst designed sites I've ever come across. I always joke that if you can figure out how to navigate the site, then you must be smart enough to pass the classes. Watching PRN and being more interested in the kitchen cabinets in the scene than the rest of the situation. Nah. That's just called having an eye for details. I watched something recently and was blown away by the awesome walk-in shower they had. My friends came over to a barbecue at my house. He brought his 13-year-old son. The kid asked me to sign him into our Wi-Fi. He handed me his phone, a phone I had never used before, and I had no idea how to use it or connect to Wi-Fi. He snatched the phone back, scoffs and rolls his eyes at me. I felt ancient. I was 30 at the time. Why didn't he have his Wi-Fi login page open for you? Like he wanted you to do 10 steps for him? I'd say he was rude. Rude kid. I would not have given him the code. My back hurts all the time. Also, I'm starting to recognize less and less celebrities at the MTV Awards. When you get a 2-day hangover. I need 5 business days to recover from a night out. Just in time for the next weekend. I like the way you think. Having to explain what a CD Walkman was. Well, first I had to explain what a CD was. The reaction? Wait, you could only take 11 songs with you to school? Why couldn't you just download more? Meanwhile, coming from the other end of it, my first time seeing an MP3 player was like witnessing magic. What do you mean, download a song? What is download? How does the music physically fit in that little device? Aha, God, you sound like my granddad when I replaced his Walkman with an iPod. Remember those? When your mobile phone and music playing were separate things. First time my sack hit the toilet water. Sack Soakers Anonymous. When someone cancels plans and I'm like, hell yes. Ya see. I'm always like that. When athletes who were in college the same time as me started retiring. Tom Brady's keeping us young. My friend. About 8 years ago. California Love came on the radio. I cranked it up and was like, ah, hell yeah, Tupac. My wife's 17-years-old niece said, who in the world is Tupac? That's a crime in California, dog. She's going straight to the doghouse. When a coworker called me her work mom. I've been called a work mom. I'm only 25. And they're 20-something co-ops.